All right, ought to be getting an alert.
All right, we on. Let's see. Okay, cool. All right, shalom,
Shalom.
shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Uh, got the Elder Yatazak here from the GMS Dallas camp, as well as the beloved brother Ayasha Math from Mississippi, and I'm the brother Ina from GMS Dallas. And so just going to be continuing on this series of the book of Samuel, first book of Samuel. And last week we went into David pretty much being introduced and him being anointed king, after Saul's basically um, after Saul was basically announced that he was no longer going to be reigning over Israel, and his seed was no longer going to be established on the throne. And so we're going to go ahead and continue on where we left off last week. Again, this is chapter 17. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right to it, unless you had any points, Zaquan.
Oh yeah, well, it's building up to David being the king. He's been anointed, but he's not king yet. But
Right.
we're going through the build up in the history, and we also using these these accounts through the spirit to correlate to what's going on today. You see similarities. You see similarities in the spirit of what went on with King David in his actual life, and you see what's happening with the house of David here in the future. So we've been making sure to, as we go through the history, apply it to the present and going into the future.
Okay.
People fail to realize that this Bible is past, present, and future, and it's alive. People like to talk about the Bible days and back in the Bible days. No, you still living in the Bible days because the Bible still has prophecies that haven't come to pass. But we use these accounts to see how our forefathers handle situations, see how the Lord handled our forefathers, so forth, so on and so forth. So let's get down to business.
That's right. Okay, this is First Samuel chapter 17, verse 1. It says, "Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Succoth, which belongeth to Judah." And Succoth is a city or a town, that's in the Judean territory. Back this is when the 12 tribes of Israel were still, basically one nation. They were looked at as one a group of people, and we had the land of Canaan, all according to the 12 tribes land that we were assigned. And this is the image of the land at that time, the 12 tribes of Israel. And basically, this is just a map of the different the different tribes land allotments. Asher, Naphtali, Manasseh. This is over in what you would call modern day Israel. Middle East, Mediterranean Sea to the left. You got Manasseh, Naphtali, Asher, Zebulon, Issachar, Gad, right? So on and so forth, all the way down to Judah, which is in the green here, and Simeon was down here beneath. And so the Philistines, you can see to the left, were on the coastline of of the Judean territory. So there was constantly in this area here, there were constantly a lot of the battles took place, on the borders of the Philistines and Judah, and so this is where this battle took place, in this area, this region here, in the plains of Judah here. All right, so going back here, it says, and were gathered together at Sakah, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shakah and Azkah in Ephes Damim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together, and they pitched in the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. So this is basically depicting another battle scene. And Saul, like we read earlier, Saul warred against the Philistines, and he fought against the Philistines the whole time he was king. And so even though Saul was not the one that was chosen to reign forever on the throne, the Lord still put the spirit on him, to fight the Philistines to the death.
So what he did was he gave Israel what they asked for. Keep in
Hmm.
mind at the beginning of this account with First Samuel, the the Israelites wanted a king, not realizing that they already had a king in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. But Yahweh said, "Okay, you want a king? You want to be like the heathen? Well, here's a king." He gave them everything. They wanted them to be tall. They wanted them to be handsome. They wanted them to be brave. They wanted them to be this. They wanted him to be that. But the one thing they didn't want him, one thing that they didn't request was a king that was going to be obedient to the Heavenly Father.
Hmm.
You see? And that's why you see the way Saul handled himself in certain situations and how the Lord named David a man after his own heart, meaning a man that was going to obey. You see? You got it.
Okay. All right. So it says in verse 2, in verse 3, and the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. So you can imagine the scene. Israel again was a hill country. There were some open plains, don't get me wrong, and there were some valley plains, but a lot of the terrain, over there in Israel is mountainous. You know what I mean? Not huge mountains, but it's just up and down, right? So they had two vantage points. One army was on the other side, and the other one was on the other side, and that was typically in the valley was where the two armies would typically meet. So we're just setting the tone on the scene that's being depicted, right?
Yep.
And in verse 4 it says, "And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span." Now, if we look up this in the NLT real quick, what verse was that? 4, right? If we look this up in the NLT, okay, I'll read it in the NLT real quick. It says, "Then Goliath, a Philistine champion from Gath, came out of the Philistine ranks to face the forces of Israel. He was over 9 feet tall." Okay, so that lets you know he was ridiculously big and imposing. And I mean, even if you look at LeBron James, I think he's like 6'9". He would have made LeBron James look like a little girl, basically.
Yep.
And so this is how large Goliath was. Well, actually, I'll keep reading NLT because it gives some other measurements. In verse 5, it says, "He wore a bronze helmet, and his bronze coat of mail weighed 125 pounds." Okay, typically, the coat of mail is like the little tiny chains that go on your chest. You know what I'm saying?
It's like a vest, like a bulletproof vest back in the day. A sword.
Right.
It'd have been a sword-proof vest back then.
Right, exactly. So his weighed 125 pounds. So you can imagine the thickness. So you a regular soldier with a sword. You know what I mean? You try to get to him. It ain't really going to penetrate that. And it says he also wore a bronze leg armor, and he carried a bronze javelin on his shoulder. So he's just walking around with this hella thick a coat of armor. You know what I'm saying? It said he had a bronze javelin on his shoulder. So a javelin, a big spear that you could throw. I mean, probably it was attached to his back to where he could take it out at any moment. And then also, it says the shaft of his spear was as heavy and thick as a weaver's beam, tipped with an iron spearhead that weighed 15 pounds. His armor bearer walked ahead of him carrying a shield.
Now, keep this in mind. They just gave you Goliath's full armor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, look at the Lord's full armor. This is Ephesians 6 and 10. It says, "Finally, brethren, be strong in the Lord." This, keep in mind, this is talking to the house of David, right? The beloved. David means beloved. So when they talking about the house of David, they talking about the beloved ones of the Lord, right? It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of the Most High. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take ye on the whole armor of the Lord, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, having done all to stand. Right? It talks about our breastplate. It talks about our helmet. All these things that it talked about with Goliath was physical. King David took off Saul's armor. He said, man, you're going to get me killed with all this shit on. Why? Yep. Because he had on the whole armor of the Lord. Right. You see, he put on the whole armor of the Lord when everybody else was all caught up in the physical, all caught up in the carnal. You see? Mm-hmm. All right, let me see. I'm going to keep reading. Mm-hmm. It says, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall all be able to quench the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Lord. You see, this is the spirit David was in back then.
Right.
You see? Fast forward to today, Goliath is now Esau.
Yep.
He got this, he got that, he got all these weapons. Okay, well, the Lord is with us.
How we gonna eat?
Right? Okay, yeah, he got all that, but the Lord is with us. So fucking what? You got it.
Con. Yep. The fiery darts. Well, that's two words. The first one was I was just looking in the Greek for that, fiery, where it says the fiery darts of the wicked. That first word is Strong's G 4448 poru, and burn, fiery, to try. Let me see here. Melted by fire and purged of dross. Let me see. To be inflamed, to be refined. To try, because fire purifies, man. It purifies the inconsistencies in precious metals. And also the fiery darts. Hold on, let me see. Quench the fiery darts. Now those darts is it says Strong's G 956 Balos, which is a missile, dart, javelin, or an arrow or a spear. And it just made me think when I saw a spear or a javelin, how, like you said, even though David, he didn't even really give Goliath the chance to throw his javelin. He threw, Goliath threw fiery darts in the sense of, and we're going to get to it, but he threw fiery darts in the sense of, saying that there was no way he going to be able to kill him, and, basically taunting him.
Shit.
You know what I mean? Taunting David, saying like, yo, why did you Israelites send me this little kid, man? But we're going to get to it, but the fiery darts spiritually are those, those words, man. Those words that people say to try to get up under our skin, try to get us to quit, and so this is all spiritual. Okay. But we're going to get back to the account. Oh, by the way, a weaver's beam. Well, damn, you know what? Let me just look it up real quick. Weaver's beam. Look it up. Look up some images of a weaver's beam just so you can see how large it was. Okay, here we go. Let me see. Weaver's beam. Yeah, let's just go here to this one. A weaver's beam. Okay. Oh damn. Here we go. Yeah. So it's a example of a weaver's beam right here. Man. It was used to make different clothing and stuff like that. Right.
Man.
It says let me see, weaver's beam. Oh, it doesn't show how big it is. Okay, a spear. Okay, it says the weaver's beam, or a string spear, or a thong spear, are just a few names of this ancient weapon acquired during its vast lineage. Um, Originally pioneered during the early Bronze Age, this was one of the first major technical innovations to hit the battlefields of the ancient Middle East. Some historians believe that combined with the fast two-wheeled chariot, the weaver's beam led to the victories of many early civilized armies, including the Assyrians and the Hittites. So, I had various different ranges and stuff like that. But it's probably this probably just from a random, you know, book or whatever. But a weaver's beam was like the top level. I'm sorry, not weaver's beam, but a javelin. The size of a weaver's beam, like we got some images here. People like recreating, Goliath's spear. You can see is like twice the size of, 3 times the size of a man. You know what I'm saying, of an average man.
And that's what I'm saying. He's throwing that.
Right.
Yeah, he's throwing
So
that. So you can imagine how big he is, or he
right.
was, and that's
Yeah.
one of his weapons. I would say that's whether he throw it or whether he just use it to jug is gonna cause damage, which would be
Yep.
intimidating. Which is why Israel was all shook.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, so going back here to the KJV. Okay. This is verse 8. 1 Samuel 17:8, and he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel and said unto them, why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose a man for you and let him come down to me.
I'm saying that wasn't no thing back in the day for one champion to call out the other champion. I would say you see that in the movie Troy. When Achilles, they brought the great big dude out there. He looked all intimidating, had the big spear. He looked the part, and he was just dispatched immediately. Didn't get a chance to do nothing. You see, so you get to see examples of these things to make the scriptures come to life. You just have to plug in our people. You know what I'm saying? You have to plug in the characters according to the Bible. You got it.
I can add, when you had two kingdoms go to war, you had your whole militaries fighting. No matter who won, you was going to exalt resources. So they were like, well, look, let's just have one of your champions fight our champion, and whoever win, that's who the victor of the war. Let's save all these lives and resources. Right. Let's just go champion for champion, man.
Go ahead.
Yep. So it says in verse 9, if he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants.
Just like the brother just said. You know what I'm saying? That's how it went. You see, and you see how Israel, when you think about it, Israel was just as shook as the Hamites was, because they was cool with putting Goliath up there. You know what, Goliath, if you want to do that, we good. Because as you continue in the story, after Goliath got his issue, what did the Philistines do? Bitches took off running. You know what I'm saying? So they was just as shook too. Go ahead.
If I can add, people understand with their story what was on the line. Like the house of David is built for pressure. Because remember, David was a young man, but he had all that pressure that if he lost, his whole nation was going to go in captivity.
Right.
So going to show you the spiritual fortitude that David had at that extremely young age, man.
Fast forward to the house of David. You know what I'm saying? The Lord told us to make our foreheads hard against whoever come up against us, man. You see? And that's the same thing. I would say if the elect of the nation of Israel, if the Lord don't put the spirit on the elect to stand up, the whole nation go into captivity forever. You see? So it's a lot riding on the house of David. You know what I'm saying? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai.
I got a quick one.
Go ahead.
This Isaiah 1:9. Except the Lord of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we would have been like unto Gomorrah.
You got it.
Yeah, so just like you were saying, like if it wasn't for the remnant that the Lord reserved today, the whole nation would be through. Because it wouldn't be no light. Remember, the scripture referred to us that light on the hill. There will be no example in the earth of what the Lord wanted if the remnant wasn't here today. And we got that example from Yahweh Shai,
Con. You got it out now.
Con. Okay, so going back here to 1 Samuel 17 and verse 10, and the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. So pretty much he was calling out the armies of Israel and saying, look, you know what I mean? He was saying all the fighting words he could think of to provoke. When you got a dude that he know he can whoop anybody, tail, and he puffed up, he got his chest poked out. He like, yo, who want to try me? Beating his chest. You know what I mean?
Beat him down, beat you down.
Yeah.
Who else wants some of G-Bo?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then David said, you know what? He said, Goliath, oh, you want some of this? Yeah, David, like, yeah, nigga, I want a lot of that.
Right.
Yeah. Bring what you got. That's what, bro, the Lord is with me. Why would I fear you? I don't care about you being big. I don't care about no damn Weaver's beam.
Man.
The Lord put the spirit on me right now. I'm in the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai right now. So yeah, I want some of that.
Right. He's like, do you want some of this? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, so like show enough.
Man. Continuing on, it says, and the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard the words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid.
That's what I'm saying. Fast forward that spirit of Saul to today. You got all these other Israelite groups that's making adjustments to the doctrine so it don't sound so bad. Mm-hmm. And we like, you know what? The Lord said he gonna do this, he gonna do that. And he also told us that he gonna kill us if we don't tell you what he said he was gonna do.
Right.
So who you think we're gonna be scared of?
That's right.
All the 501c3s, all the that's what I'm saying. You got Nate been on the news every day for the last month. Ain't mentioned Edomites once. You know what I'm saying? Ain't told nobody what the Lord gonna do.
Destruction of America.
None of that. Oh shit, in the 90s, you know what I'm saying? I used to be a Muslim and then I came into the shut the fuck up. That ain't what you're supposed to be talking about. Oh, or is it? You see, the house of Saul is still alive today too. Mm-hmm. You got it, bro.
Yep. And when you define the armies, well, you know what? Let me get that word real quick in the Hebrew. Philistine said he defies.
Yeah, the army of Ezekiel 37 is talking about you niggas marching around the basketball gym. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Man. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
You got it, bro.
That's that word defy is Strong's H2778 harap. Excuse me, harap. And it says to reproach, to taunt, to blaspheme, defy, jeopardize, rail, upbraid.
Like you said, he was doing everything in his power to start that fight.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing everything in his power to start that fight. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, like the brother said, all their stuff was at stake too.
Yep.
That pressure put on both of them men. That's what I'm saying. Philistine didn't even get a shot off.
Man,
go ahead.
This is back in verse 11. Excuse me. Verse 11. And when Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. See here, it says, and the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. So his oldest sons, Jesse's oldest sons, the ones that, because remember we read in chapter 16, how basically Samuel had called for all the sons of Jesse. So the ones that passed by Jesse and they all was like, nah, the Lord was like, nah, none of these guys are it. Those 3 eldest, sons, they were still mighty men of valor. They went out and to the battle in Saul's army. Because remember we read earlier, it said when Saul saw any mighty man or any valiant man, he took Saul, took them into that individual, that man into Saul's army.
Right.
So these were still mighty, valiant men. It says,
okay, just for the reference point of how young David was, because you had to be 20 to be in Israel's military. Right. So remember, David is the youngest of 8. So he got 3 brothers that's in the military. So that means those other boys was under 20. Those other 4 that was ahead of him was under 20. And David was the youngest of them.
Right.
You see?
Yep.
So it just showed you how young David was, man.
Okay.
Yep. He was likened then unto Jacob being a worm.
Right.
If you can receive it, Go ahead.
Okay. It says, and the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and next unto him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. In verse 14, it says, and David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. Okay, so it says, but David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. Because remember, in the end of chapter 16, the Lord put a demon or a spirit to vex Saul, and basically Saul called David to be his armor bearer. So basically David was Saul's armor bearer. And he would also play whenever that, vexing spirit would come upon Saul, David will play the harp, and that spirit would leave, that evil spirit would leave Saul, and he would be refreshed.
That's what I'm saying. King David, David at the time, he had to protect him physically and spiritually.
Yep.
You see, Saul's house only had the physical. He gonna get the biggest dudes. He gonna get the dudes with the biggest beards. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, David had to look over Saul in so many different ways. You got it.
Right. So it says in verse 15, but David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem, because there was no point in David, playing the harp in the battlefield. So he went back, when Saul went to battle, David went back to Bethlehem, And so it says, and that's interesting, you know what I mean? Like, that's where Yahushua was born, Bethlehem. But anyway,
sheep.
That's right.
Yep.
and then when it was time for him to go, he passed on the torch to David to keep the sheep.
Mm-hmm.
David keeping the sheep, Peter keeping the sheep, Abel kept the sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Moses kept
the sheep. You see?
Yep.
You see that? It's a continuing theme. You see, the sheep always need protection. You got it.
Yeah, quick precept. Oh, yeah. Yep, let's bag over what y'all brothers going into. 1 Peter 5:2, it says, feed the flock of the Most High, which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind, not as being lords over the Most High's heritage, but being examples to the flock. And the King David was an example to the flock. Okay, he was watching over physical sheep, but he was an example to the sheep of Israel, the people. That's why the Most High said he's a man after the Most High's own heart. So King David was the example of how the sheep should be, just as Yahushua, man.
That's right.
That was it, bro.
Go ahead, Anna.
Going back to see here, verse 16, it says, and the Philistine drew near morning and evening and presented himself 40 days. So this wasn't just a one-day event. This was going on for over a month.
He's just out there just talking shit.
Nigga take a lunch break, come back.
You know what I'm saying? Come back talking shit some more.
Yeah. Like, what's today? Today's what, the 22nd?
Yeah.
So that's like Goliath going out every day since the first September. November, before Thanksgiving. He going out every day.
These niggas can cancel New Year's because they ain't gonna see Christmas. You heard, man? Oh Lord.
You know what I'm saying? That's a long time, man. So that was what they were basically just, because if either army withdrew, they would lose their position. So they had to, it was basically like, I want to say a stalemate, but it was just like, like they was holding their positions. You know what I mean? Like, war don't just, take a few hours. That, this was continual. So verse 17, it says, and Jesse said unto David his son, now take for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, because it had been almost a month and a half. You know what I'm saying? So, Jesse, David's father was like, look, take your brothers, this food, you know what I'm saying? That way they can, be straight, right? Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn and these 10 loaves and run to the camp to thy brethren. So got the map here. Bethlehem would be, or Jerusalem. Hold on. Oh, it might not even have it on this one. Yeah, it might not even have it on this one. But he had to basically run out, towards the coast. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Bethlehem. Oh, no, that's not it. But yeah, he had to run out, towards this area from inland to, meet his brothers at the battlefield, right? So going back, it says, you see here, verse 18, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. So he was basically charged with, checking up on them, making sure they were straight. Okay, in verse 19, now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight and shouted for the battle. So, basically, Goliath, he basically had proposed, the one-on-one deal, every day. But the army of Israel was like, hell no, we ain't doing no one-on-one. We'll fight y'all army to army, but no, we know we ain't got nobody that can just take this guy out by himself. So we just gonna, do the traditional way, right? And verse 21 says, for Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage and ran into the army. So he had a carriage with him. Like he wasn't just running with the 10 cheeses and the bread and the corn in his hands. He had a carriage, and it was another guy with him that was, holding it down until David got back from the army, the camp army itself. Okay. It says he ran into the army and came and saluted his brethren, so he made sure they were straight. He found the captain of his brethren, and he says Shalom. Okay. And so here's where it gets juicy. Verse 23. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words, and David heard them.
So David heard him talking shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It finally got to the point where he was going so hard. He was going so hard, but like you said, David wasn't there all them other days. But when David heard him talking the same shit that he had been talking for over a month, he was like, hold up. Mm-hmm. So the heavenly father sent him and his earthly father sent him to his brothers. You see? He had to show everybody something through the spirit. You got it?
Okay. It says, verse 24, and all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were sore afraid.
That's what I'm saying. That's why you got all these other groups nowadays marching and showing themselves, shooting guns and doing all these things. But at the same time, they rolling their sleeves up and changing the doctrine.
Mm-hmm. They shying away from the context.
You see? You have an AK practice on Wednesdays. Right?
And then go get the on Thursday.
Come on, man. It's the same. It was the same spirit back then, man. Yeah, you looked the part, but you ain't talking about nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But David was of another spirit, just like how I talk about Joshua and Caleb.
Man,
they had another spirit on them.
That's the spirit. I got that account pulled up right here.
Let's go, champ.
I'm gonna just fast forward to the point. The last two verses in Numbers 13, and 32. It says, and they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. So Israel was seeing, because they were sent, I believe it was 10 or was it 12 scouts? I think it was 12, scouts. And only, like you said, Zaquan, Caleb and Joshua were the only two ones, only two men that gave a good report, and the other men gave an evil report of the land. You know what I mean? Saying, look, I know the Lord said that we're gonna be able to inhabit this land, but I hate to tell y'all, man, like, anybody that's a foreigner that goes into this land that tries to overtake it, they ain't gonna make it, man, because the people here, they're 8 feet tall, 7 feet tall, 9 feet tall, so we ain't gonna be able to overtake it. That's the spirit. That's what they were saying, and they were discouraging, the armies of Israel, which what I'm saying, the Lord said He's gonna bring us into that land. That's what He's gonna do.
That's right.
See? So I'll read verse 33 and go back. It says, and there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight.
And that's why you see Jake now. They look at Esau as this big giant over them. And that's why you see Jake don't want to push the MOTB like that, because Jake don't see victory over that. Jake don't see surviving without being able to buy and sell with the permission of Esau, man. They don't see the victory over that, man. But King David had the victory before he left the house.
Right.
He just had to hear the shit.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Once he heard it, he was activated. That's why it's certain things that you only see men of the house of David respond to, man. Everybody else is silent.
Yep. I would say, because they'll see Jake in a heated situation and a fight don't break out, then Jake a hoe. He a hoe ass nigga. I would never let no nigga get that close to me. You invaded my space, nigga. Shit. Right? That's what I'm saying. We come in that stead, but now we activated through the spirit to where, look, we ain't fighting against flesh and blood. Mm-hmm. Having some dude coming up thinking he finna just punch on us and all that type. Look, we ain't in that spirit, man. Mm-hmm. We cut with the word. It says the word of the Lord is sharper than any two-edged sword, not your fist.
God.
King David said the Lord taught his hands how to war, taught his hands to fight. You see? Jake got all these gimmicks and wristbands and extra extended clips and all this, and ain't got no spirit.
Man.
All the lights on, ain't nobody at home.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Going back to 1 Samuel 17 and verse 25, it says, and the men of Israel said, have you seen this man that has come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. So all the soldiers in the army was like, yo, like, David, bro, you just got here, man. Like, we've been hearing this nigga for 40 days talking shit, saying that he gonna kill whoever tries to come up against him one-on-one. And this is such a big deal that whoever kills him, man, the king gonna give him, he gonna give him gold and his own daughter, which shows you that the women were a prize back then. And basically make his house, his family tax free. They won't have to pay no taxes, right? And so in verse 26 it says, and David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living power?
That's what I'm saying. See, none of them had that thought process. None of them thought like that. All they was caught up on was how big he was and all this other stuff. His reputation. Okay, well, Goliath got a reputation, cool. But what about the Lord's reputation? I want to say Goliath didn't drown every fucking body.
Mm-hmm.
You see, Goliath didn't lead the Israelites out of Egypt. All these things that the Lord is credited with, and you telling me this big hoe ass nigga is
nigga probably not need.
Y'all tripping.
Yep.
You see, he said we here to serve the Lord. So what he big? They ain't stopped making javelins when they made his.
Man.
You got it.
I got a quick precept.
Yeah,
Come on.
just like that spirit
We got
that
a precept. We got a precept.
Salaki, my bad.
This is the book of Joshua, chapter 2, verse 9. It says, and she said unto the men, I know that the Lord had given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when ye came out of Egypt, and what ye did unto the two kings of the Amorites that were on the other side Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom ye utterly destroyed. And as soon as we had heard all these things, our hearts did melt, neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you, for the Lord your power, he is the most high in heaven above and in earth beneath.
That's what I'm saying. And that's the spirit King David was in. He was like, look, okay, he big, cool. But that's what I'm saying. Our Lord is greater. Period. That's how it worked. Same fast forward to the house of David. Look, Esau got it. The Lord gave the earth into the hands of the wicked. He also said he gonna take it back. So either you believe it or you don't. You got it.
It's heavy. Yeah, going back here. Yeah, because that was the same spirit that that Jonathan was in, which is I find interesting, like, because we read it in the 14th chapter a few weeks ago about that story about how Jonathan and his armor bearer, they slew like 20 Philistines by themselves. You know what I'm saying? And the Lord, made the armies to scatter and fight against each other. So, he had that same mindset, like, yo, who are these uncircumcised? Because all the other nations, they didn't have the covenant of the Most High with them. So that was like a diss to call somebody uncircumcised, like yo, these niggas ain't even of the Lord's people. Why are we tripping on them? You know what I'm saying? Like, as if they have any power over us. And that's the mindset of a ruler, man. Verse 27, it says, and the people answered him after this manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killeth him. And Eliab, his eldest brother, when he spake unto the men, and Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? So he was, well, I'll finish the verse. It says, I know thy pride and the naughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. You getting your ass, when you getting your ass handed to you, you don't really want to see anybody. You don't really want anybody to see you lose. You know what I'm saying? And Eliab was David's, oldest brother. So he was basically, sonning his little brother, like, man, I got 7 brothers older than you, man. What you out here doing, man? Or 8 brothers, or 6 brothers older than you. What you out here doing?
And then David asked about the bounty.
Yeah.
There's a price on Goliath head. So David was, he's small, he probably looking up to everybody, asking like, so what it is, what's the play?
Yeah.
He big boy business. You can imagine the scene. He around his big brother saying, what the fuck you doing, man? Yep. You on an errand, Yeah.
What the hell you gonna do?
Yeah. Exactly. So, he was basically dissing him, man. And, that's how you get. I got little brothers. I know how it goes sometimes. You're like, man, get your young. You don't even belong over here, man.
Oh, yeah. I got a worldly older brother. I'll say I'm both of us in our 40s. I'm still a little brother. I'll be like, man, yeah. So I know how it goes.
You know what I'm saying? You're like, man, you just came for front row seats to get our get our ass handed to us.
Man.
In verse 29, it says, and David said, what have I now done? Is there not a cause? He's like, damn, man, you getting on me for no reason, bro.
He looking like shit. Y'all scared hell. This nigga call y'all out. Y'all ain't did shit. So it's obviously goddamn, it's a problem. It needs a solution around this motherfucker. Shit.
Right.
Shit, what the fuck you mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And it says, verse 30, and he turned from him toward another and spake after the same matter. And the people answered him again after the former manner. They was all basically against David, like, yo, bro, what are you gonna really do, man? Your brother's right. Like what you down here doing, man? Like, what's the point of you coming down here? You know what I mean? Like, we here to fight. You know what I mean? Like, deliver your food and then, head on back to the sheep. And as you can see here on the, the new title, David kills Goliath, in case brothers didn't already know. Yeah, he did. But we're going to continue on in verse 31 and see, it says, and when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. Right? So Saul didn't know, like, exactly, he didn't really know exactly who it was that was saying this until, later on, until he seen David. But even then,
he was just glad somebody was willing to fight when everybody else was shook. So he was like, okay, well, shit, we got somebody that's going to roll up. Cool, bring him to me. Let me see him. Let me talk to him. Let me see what's up.
Right.
And then so here come David.
Yeah. Yep. And so verse 32, it says, and David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. So you can imagine Saul's disappointment, like, damn, man, like this little dude,
Yeah, hit the wine again, like shit.
And verse 33, it says, and Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. So
looking on that carnality,
right,
man, you a kid. That's what this dude been fighting war since he was a kid, and you a kid, and you think you finna whoop him. David didn't waver not one bit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he had on the whole armor of the Lord already. Go ahead.
Verse 34, and David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear and took a lamb out of the flock.
He said, look, let me tell you something about my Lord and what he's done for me. Because that's one thing people always, oh, y'all violent, y'all hateful, we telling you what the Lord gonna do. We repeatedly tell y'all that we're not gonna do nothing until the Lord give the green light. But people seem to miss that. You see? David wasn't talking about what he was gonna do. He was talking about the power of the Lord, which is the most important thing. The power of the Lord is the moral to this message.
Hey, Saul gave him Goliath's resume. David gave him the Lord's resume.
Right. There you go. And that's what we're doing. Y'all keep on giving us Esau's resume. We giving you the Lord's resume. That's why I say Esau didn't drown everybody.
Right.
Did he? No. Esau didn't lead nobody through the Red Sea. Esau didn't raise Yahweh from the dead. Man. To hell with this devil, man. Don't you come telling us one more fucking thing about what this devil gonna do.
Right.
Go ahead.
This is let me see here. This is 1 Samuel 17 and 34 again. And David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear and took a lamb out of the flock. And it says, and I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. So
you see how far David was willing to go to protect the flock? That mentality of protecting the sheep has now transferred as the Spirit of the Lord in front of Saul and his army, who was shaking in their fucking boots because a nigga big.
Right. Yep.
Go ahead.
Yep. And by the way, Zaquan, if I may add, like, it's easy to look at the flesh and see, like, from a carnal standpoint, Esau got all these guns and these weapons and, all of this, mind control tactics and things like that, to think that in the flesh, it could be easy to think that, we never going to be able to get up out of here and come up out of this beast system. But it's going to take a miracle, like how, David through faith, he was able to execute miracles. Let's just be honest. You know what I'm saying? Through that faith that he had in the Lord, it's going to take that same level of faith in order to get up out of here, man. You know? And so it says, verse 36, and thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living power.
And that's the whole point. We telling you that the Lord is going to look out for the elect, and he's going to destroy those enemies, man. You see? The prophecy says victory for the Israelites. The prophecy says victory for the Israelites. We don't preach doubt. We preach victory because that's what's written. Go ahead.
It says, verse 37, David said, moreover, the Lord Yahweh that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine.
That's what I'm saying. He explained to you how he was able to do those things. I was able to protect the flock because the Lord put the Spirit on me to do so. He didn't leave that out. He didn't leave that out. He made sure that he said that. The Lord delivered me from the hand of that bear and that lion so I could do my job. And he gonna do the same thing with the house of David, as he said, as he promised, as he prophesied. Go ahead.
Kind of says, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and Yahweh will be with thee.
You see?
So,
hey, if you believe it, then go out there. You know? Yep. And that's the thing. Same thing with us. If y'all niggas believe it to where y'all gonna be preaching in the snow and doing all this and doing all that, go. And that's it. That's it. Yep. It's too cold to go out there. I ain't finna be preaching in no snow. Okay, fine, we'll do it. That's what David said. Y'all don't want to kill this nigga, I'll do it. Because I believe the Lord gonna deliver this nigga into my hand.
Yep.
Come on now. Go ahead.
Con, hey, that's a beautiful example, Zaquan. Like you said, like everybody not even too scared, but they don't want to do it. Nobody's willing to do the dirty job. You know, get their hands dirty in the spirit, man. Starting with the apostles and elders, they're great examples of. Well, nobody else willing to do it. Okay, that's not gonna stop us. That's the mindset of a winner. Yeah,
it's got to be done.
Yeah.
The Lord said he was going to send his prophets out there in the last days. They was going to be in season and out of season. They wasn't going to buckle to nothing nobody got said. They was going to be surrounded by the angels, so they ain't got nothing to fear. Make your foreheads hard against her. Somebody got to fill that role.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody got to refuse it.
Okay.
Let's go.
Continuing on, it says, verse 38, and Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head.
That's what I'm saying. When he gave David that armor, he was giving him the kingdom. Didn't even know it. He gave David his armor.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. Mm-hmm. He knew a month ago he wasn't going out there.
Man.
Saul gave David his armor. And what else you think came along with that? Come on, man. Let's go.
So he pretty much gave him his responsibility.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Handed over the kingdom, handed over the flock. He was going to do it anyway. He just didn't know he was doing it this day. David already been protecting him in the spirit. Now he got to protect him physically. It ain't nothing else left after that. He had to protect him physically, and he had to protect him in the spirit. And Saul said, you know what? Here. And David prevailed. Keep going.
Right. It says also he armed him with a coat of mail. You know, that chain, you know, underneath the armor. Yeah. Yep. That sword-proof vest, you know. And David in verse 39 said, and David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not yet proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. So I want to get that word.
He didn't need all that.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't need all that. That's what I'm saying. He understood that.
He had with the bear.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't have on Saul's armor for none of them other battles he went through. Go ahead.
Yep. So it says, he had stayed to go, or David started. He started to head out, and he was like, "Man, hold on, man. I can't go out with these. I haven't proved them."
Yeah,
And
then Saul wasn't no little man. Saul was kind of, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, he
So
was the
you can
tallest.
imagine the helmet was out jiggling, and you know what I'm saying? the chain link wasn't secure. You know, all that stuff was gonna do was get in his way.
Yep.
But it wasn't about that armor. It was about the spiritual armor that he had on.
Right.
And it only took one rock to take Goliath out. That rock, Yahweh Shai. That's what I'm saying. He was always dependent upon the Lord. Go ahead.
Strong's H5254. Nasa. That's the word for proof. And it says to test, to try, to put to the proof or test. So yeah, he hadn't really practiced in it yet. Like it was all fresh. You know what I'm saying? What does it say? To smell, to try by the smell. The primary idea. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. So to try or to prove, like he didn't that was his first time putting it on, and he gonna go out there with that's like going to the NBA finals with a pair of basketball shoes you ain't never tried on before. You don't know how you're gonna perform in those. You know,
the big baller. Yeah, you in the NBA finals game one with some big baller brands on.
You know what I mean? So yeah,
some pro wings or some shit.
Yeah, he was more comfortable in his own, in his own skin. So he was like, "Man, I don't even need this shit."
We got a precept.
Yeah, mentioned about Yahweh Shai. This is Isaiah 28:16. Therefore, thus said the Lord power, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste.
You got it.
Yeah, so tried stone. That was the rock was symbolic for that David used was Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai was proven. Yahweh Shai through his father has been proven over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. They're gonna stick to what works. We're gonna why change the game plan now?
Exactly. Exactly. I would say Yahweh Shai also represent that stone that crumbled all them kingdoms in the Daniel vision.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay. All right. So let me see here. Oh, my bad. Back in 1 Samuel 17 and verse 40, it says, and he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. So basically, he didn't have no armor on physically. He basically looked like a shepherd. He had a staff, like a shepherd's staff, like how Moses had, similar to that. 5 stones in a little scrip is like a bag, like a lightweight bag, small bag. You can put whatever in it. And he had those 5 stones in that bag and a slingshot, and
he said it drew near to him. So
right.
He wasn't shying away. He wasn't bagging up.
Right.
He went to him.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. In verse 41, it says, and the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. So you could imagine this scene. We said it earlier in the chapter. The armies were on 2 hills, and there was a valley in between them. So they coming down, meeting at the valley. So both sides.
That was the valley of decision in that time.
Yep. Because both sides were able to see. They were able to see what was going on down beneath, like a coliseum. Like you got the upward seats, think of a football stadium or a basketball game. The basketball court is down at the bottom. That's where the action happens in the valley, and then all the seats around it are up so that you can look down and see what's going on. God. So it says, and when the Philistine, verse 42, and when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance. We went into that word ruddy, saying the last week, going into how it's a derivative of red, but anything that's ruddy typically is brownish with a slight red tint to it, slight reddish tint to it. But basically, it just denotes how he was. We went into NLT, David was dark and handsome, So, but still, he was, didn't have no scars on him. You know what I mean? He didn't look like he had been through a whole lot. He was just a young man, right? Verse 43, and the Philistine said unto David, am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? Meaning a stick. Like, he's like, yo, this little dude is like a twig. Like, why am I like, he was talking smack, right? It says, and the Philistine cursed David by his gods. So whatever gods the Philistines, Dagon was one of them, so on and so forth. It was like, man, in the name of Dagon, you're like, you're going to get turned into dust or whatever he was saying, right? Which, that meant nothing to David, right? It says in verse 44, and the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. Now, if somebody say that to you, that means that they gonna leave you on the street. They gonna leave you on the pavement. You know what I mean? You're gonna be basically unburied, mauled to death. You know what I mean? And you're gonna have vultures come out later and feast on your carcass. That's what Goliath was telling David, right? Now I got a precept in Jeremiah chapter 17 in verse 5. It says, thus saith Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord. Now, to qualify the scripture, this is talking about how, Israel would trust in various different nations for their strength in order to deliver them from other nations that were coming up against them. Okay. But even as individuals, like, we can't trust in, the police, for example, to, save us out of any situation. We need to be trusting in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, you see? And so if you put any trust in your physical strength or, any weapons that you may have without, trusting in the Lord more than that, then you're not gonna be able to make it, man. And that was David. David didn't have that mindset. He put it in the Lord's hands. Verse 43, it says, then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai of hosts.
That's what I'm saying. You come at us. You come at us with talks of war and captivity, and you got missiles. You know what I'm saying? You got your C to the H to the I to the P. You coming at us with all these things, but we telling you Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai ain't having that.
Right.
Let that sink in. Let that sink in. All you rolled up sleeve ass, big ass wristband, AK toting monkeys.
Yep.
You ain't got nothing. I would say you don't never have nothing to say about what the Lord gonna do. And that's why you will lose. Go ahead.
It says the power, but I come to thee in the name of Yahweh of hosts, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai of hosts, the power of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. You see, that's when it gets sticky, man. When you talk smack against the Most High, that's when it gets real. You basically just like DJ Khaled said, you played yourself, man.
That's it. That's it.
Verse 46, it says, this day will Yahweh deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee and take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a power in Israel.
Ooh, so, yeah. He said, no. You finna be bird food.
Right.
Yeah. oh, you gonna kill me? No. The Lord done already told me I'm finna kill you. And I'm finna do it in front of everybody. Thus saith the Lord.
Man.
You see? I was say Goliath went into his gods and what he was gonna do. David went into his God and what he was gonna do.
Yep.
Let's go.
What's that scripture in Revelation where it talk about the fowls of heaven? You know, they're gonna feast on the carcasses of the kings. Let me see here. Hold on. I think it's I know it's in Revelation. Let me see what chapter. Revelation 19, I think. Let me see, 19 and yeah. Okay, yeah. This is Revelation 19 and Revelation 19 and 17. Okay. It says, and I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves unto the supper of the great power of the Most High, that ye may eat the flesh of kings and the flesh of captains and the flesh of mighty men and the flesh of horses and of them that sit on them and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And when you drop down to we'll break it down, you drop down to let me see here, verse 21, it says, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, okay, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. Okay, so after I'll say in the day when Yahweh Shem Yahushai comes back, to conquer the earth, man, when the Lord sends Yahushai to come in that fathership, and the chariots come, and like the illustration in Second Ezra, the 13th chapter, all of the armies of the Lord, all the armies of Esau get tore up and jacked up. Basically it's going to be a bunch of dead bodies laying around. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that we look forward to. I talked about the doom, like up here, the doom of the beast and the false prophet. This beast system is NATO and the EU is going to be taken down. And we ain't gonna be burying them bodies, man. We're not gonna be out there. Okay, well, all right, it's 500 million dead soldiers. We gotta go out there and bury them. Nah, worms gonna have a feast. Vultures gonna have a feast. Hyenas, all the scavengers, they're gonna be full. They're gonna be full in the mud. Okay, and that's what David was saying. Like, look, all the smack you talking, this is coming to y'all, man. Y'all, you and your armies.
Your big ass finna feed some birds.
Right.
Yeah. That's why the Lord made you so big, because it's hungry birds out there.
Man, so let me see here. So verse 46, it says, this day will Yahweh deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee and take thine head from thee, and I will I read this part already, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a power in Israel, and all his assembly shall know that Yahweh saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is Yahweh's, and he will give you into our hands.
That's what I'm saying. We preaching the victory. The Lord is gonna win. Therefore, his people gonna win. So being afraid of what these dudes got going, yeah, they got the. I would say the Lord gave them that. It's just like how Esau leave a truckload of guns in the hood. Them toys he done already got through playing with. He know what AKs do to human flesh, so he give it to niggas because he through playing with it. That's just like the Lord. They say the Lord finna come with something ain't nobody ever seen. With all this technology we looking at now, he gonna come with something ain't nobody never seen. So the Lord is basically leaving a truckload of AKs on the planet because he got something bigger and better. No weapon formed against thee shall prosper. Either you believe that or you don't. You got it, bro.
Con. Okay.
We got one. We got another quick one over here.
Okay, Con.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 57. But thanks be to the Most High, who's given us the victory through our Lord Yahweh Shah HaMashiach.
Boom. The Lord giving victory. I want to say the Lord didn't set up the remnant to lose. So whether you of the remnant or not, the remnant is gonna win because that's the will of the Heavenly Father. You ever heard of predestination? Yeah. Y'all gonna have to deal with that. Go ahead.
Con. Okay, continuing on in 1 Samuel 17, verse 48. And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth.
I was saying hit him like a gunshot. You know what I'm saying? Hit him like a gunshot. It was like that was the first dude to get shot in the head.
Man.
Yeah, headshot. Yeah, I would say everybody always talk about they vet. I would say you got all these rappers and you got you got so-called preachers in they bulletproof vests and all that. Bro, if they know you got a vest on, they gonna aim at your face. You got a face-proof vest?
Man.
That's the whole point. That's the whole. You don't let them know that you tote your stick and you got a bulletproof vest on. Nigga, they dropped them guns off in the hood for your dumb ass. But whatever. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna end up with that rock sunken in your forehead just like Goliath.
Yep.
Why? Because you rather trust in everything else but the Lord. Shooting sideways with your eyes closed or shot a nigga grandmother. That ain't gonna cut it in that day. You got something?
It's the book of Sirach. Just speaking how you pretty much finna take out the head of Goliath. This is Sirach 36 and 10. Yep, it says, smite and sunder the heads of the rulers of the heathen that say there is none other but we. So Esau's in the peak of his pride, and we know the head of Esau is Amalek. All right. And the head of Esau is finna be sniped off, and that's what's gonna make that whole body drop. Because it's Amalek that really make this shit go.
Right.
You know, the nigga, the Texas Longhorn Stadium tailgate, he don't know what's going on, man.
Right.
Okay. But when these Amaleks really start getting broke down, you're gonna see the whole infrastructure of Esau just drop, man, just like David. Once he hit the head shot, fell on his face, man. Esau's empire finna fall on his face, man.
That's right.
You know?
You got it out now.
Kind. Okay, let me see here. Cannot Drew meet David hasted. Okay, so yeah, so that was the end of the fight. That was as quick as it was. And then it says verse 50. So David prevailed over the Philistine and with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. They couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? Here it is, this dude, 9 feet tall, 125 pounds of armor and all this craziness, got murked by the tiniest dude in their army. They were like, hell nah, we finna move. We finna get up out of here. You see?
Bro, can you imagine how Israel felt when they saw that? You know what I'm saying? They were like, let's get these motherfuckers dead. You know right. He charged the whole army. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? His zeal of the Lord infused the army of Israel to where they start chasing them.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Yep.
Where's that precept where it talk about one will chase 1,000?
Yeah, you know I was looking at
that. That's what we believe. You know what I'm saying? We already know that until the Lord come, we're not finna chase nobody. But when the Lord does put that spirit on us, then we're gonna be instruments and tools of the Lord, just like we have been in bringing out the word and going out on the highways and byways. Yep. We hope to be vessels that were made unto honor. You got it.
This is Deuteronomy 32, verse 30. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight? except their rock
Boom.
had
You see
told.
that?
Yep.
That's the only way. That's the only way. Now I want you to put that precept on a loop and tell us we crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
We ain't trusted in nothing else but Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else can make adjustments and all that old type of shit if you want to. Hey, that's you and your lot too. Go ahead.
Kind. All right, so go back to 1 Samuel 17. Okay, it says let me see. Oh, right. Okay, so it says verse 52. It says, and the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until thou come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. So we had that map up. I know Ekron was on there, I think. Let's see. Oh, Elgon, Ekron. But it was all of this is basically pushing into further in, to the Philistines' territory. So they gained some land, they gained some high ground, when this battle happened. Okay.
I would say fast forward. I would say fast forward to the Maccabean revolt. You know what I'm saying? And I would say they trusted in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and before you know it, they was chasing the Edomites' ass.
Yep.
You see?
Yep.
How about during the time of was it Esther? Esther and Mordecai. They trusted in the Lord, and at the end of the day, Haman ass was out of there. This is where our high holy days come from us trusting in the Lord and him delivering us from our enemies.
Mm-hmm.
You see that? Same thing with the Passover.
That's right.
But now you got big, strong, bearded, all black wearing Israelites that's making adjustments and being scared. Hell no, we ain't finna go out there. That nigga, you gonna have to tap in the Esau blessing, see, and then no, absolutely the fuck not,
man.
Go ahead.
Esau ain't tapping into our blessing, shit. And the men. Oh, let me see here. In the middle of verse 52, it says, and the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to Sharaim, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. So, they gained, miles and miles of land back from the Philistines, and all of the tents that basically were abandoned during that flight of the Philistines. Israel was, they basically got all the goods that they had, weapons, gold, whatever, Verse 54 says, and David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. Okay. It says in verse 55, and when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, as thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. And the king said, inquire thou whose son the stripling is.
That's what I'm saying, a stripling, a teenager pretty much.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You haven't even come into your full man body yet.
Mm-hmm.
If you got if you got teenagers in your house, you know what a stripling look like.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, because Saul, he had a relationship with David, personal relationship with David, but he never really met David's father. You know what I mean? So he was like, man, we got to talk to this guy's father. Who is this guy's father? And verse 56, and the king said, inquire thou whose son the stripling is. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. So, blood dripping out of it, saying, like
was it Isaiah 63:1? Because David returned from the slaughter.
Yep.
We'll say, who was this with dyed garments from Basra?
Man.
It's the same concept. Man.
That's right.
You return, like in the ancient world, you will return from a slaughter. And he had the head. You can imagine, like David, Goliath, that big ass Hamite head, man.
Right.
David carrying the head, man. Then they're bigger than him, just like the scene
Yeah. Yeah. Head probably weighed 50 pounds, man. You know? And
Mhm.
yep. So it says in verse 58, and Saul said unto him, whose son art thou, thou young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. So that was the introduction of King David. I'm sorry, not King David. Before he was King David, he was just, David, but the introduction of the Lord, because remember, David was anointed, you know what I'm saying? He was anointed before this happened in the previous chapter. And it said how the spirit of the Lord came upon David, even more so than it may have been before. The spirit of the Lord came upon David to where basically, David was turned into, a super Israelite. You know what I mean? For lack of a better, like he had that understanding. He had the war tactics. He was just upgraded, just like us when we were in the world. The version of ourselves that we were in the world compared to us now. The ability to make decisions, in a spirit, quick spiritual righteous decisions has increased drastically. The ability to know what to do in times of trouble. Like these are all things that the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai gives us in order to, get to that next step in this walk. So that's the end of the chapter. I know we go for a little minute. Yeah. So let me see. I don't know if we want to get any precepts on here. Let me
Yeah, if you see something, pull it.
Okay.
Yeah, the brothers contributed pretty tough. So
Let me see. Okay, we got some precepts here. Declaring from the end. I like that Isaiah 48. Yeah, I guess we can get this Isaiah. He kind of jumped around Isaiah 48 and 10. Okay. Yeah, let's get that real quick. Isaiah 48 and 10. Pull it up. Yeah, man, because Yahweh Shem Yahshai, he's the one that delivers us. He's the one that basically protects us, man. So he's not gonna put his name on us and then let it go, go to nothing. I'm gonna share my screen real quick because there's actually a couple verses I want to put. This is Isaiah chapter 48, and I'm gonna start at where we at here. I'm gonna start at verse 9. It says, for my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. So the Lord puts us in positions to test our faith, and ultimately, as much as we upset the Most High, he because remember, this is the fact that the Philistines were in our land trying to come up against us, and the Lord set up a big giant, guy to come up 40 days and define the armies of Israel and the Most High. That's really a curse. Like that's a punishment. You know what I mean? Because when we were initially in the land, we didn't kill off all of the Canaanites that dwelt in the land. So the Lord kept those Canaanites in the land for basically to be a thorn in our side, roughly paraphrasing, man. Okay. And so that's exactly what we were experiencing. But the Lord said he was going to defer his anger. So through those mercies of David, he delivered Israel from the Philistines that day. Okay. And verse 11, it says, for mine own sake, even for mine own sake will I do it. For how should my name be polluted? And I will not give my glory unto another. You see? Because if the Lord had allowed David to get killed by the Philistine that day, then, it would have looked like, the gods of the Philistines were mightier than the gods of Israel, or than the power of Israel. And so, the Lord was like, nah, I ain't finna let my name be polluted. That's why we know a lot of these, tactics that Esau is using to X out the Most High and X out the Messiah. We know it's not going to stand, man, because the Lord's not going to allow for his name to be polluted again. So that was
I
good.
got,
That's pretty,
I got something to end on.
okay, Con.
This is Revelation 3:10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. That's a commandment.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Saul gave his away.
Exactly. Just like Esau gave his away.
Yep.
You see? You see?
Right.
You got some, you sharing your screen?
No, well, I was reading the,
Oh,
reading the
okay.
precepts, but yeah, we finished up, so it's all good. So
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, Abaratazah, that was edifying to you brothers and a few sisters watching. With that, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachel Kudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.